Hali kidogo nilipoona hapa na pale, kuna yale ya kisheria, lakini kuna mengine yalikuwa kama ni siasa inachezwa. Sasa ni vizuri wataalamu wetu wadadisi hiyo ruling, kama ni kupiga rufani basi watatujulisha kama wataenda kwa rufani. Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, President Uhuru, he means well for the country. He means well for the country. Kwa hivyo ile line ilikuwa naenda ambayo najaribu kusema kwamba he does not have the goodwill of the nation at heart, hiyo nimeshangaa. He has the goodwill of the nation at heart. You may disagree with him, but surely to accuse him of not having the goodwill of the nation at heart is stretching it too far. Kwa hivyo wewe, wakati sasa tunakaribia 2022, tunaenda kutafuta nani atakuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, simtume makachero wenu saa hii waanze kuchunguza nani mwizi wa ng'ombe, nani mufisadi, nani muongo, nani hana heshima. Na mimi nawaomba, nataka kupitia kwa idhini yenu niwe rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
And President Uhuru Kenyatta has appointed William Ouko as Supreme Court judge following his nomination by the Judicial Service Commission, JSC, to replace retired Judge Jackton Ojwang. The President appointed Justice William Ouko in a Gazette notice dated 13th May 2021. The 60-year-old William Ouko emerged top among other contenders, including Justice Said Juma Chitembwe, Justice Njagi Marete, Justice Matthews Nduma, Aliciano Sergon, Joseph Kiplagat, and Dr. Nyaberi Lumumba. Here's Dolly Murigi with this report.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has appointed Justice William Ouko as a judge of the Supreme Court. Ouko was nominated for the position by the Judicial Service Commission last week and will join the court to replace Justice Jackton Ojwang, who retired in February last year. The JSC had shortlisted all the 9 candidates who applied for the position, including Justice Said Chitembwe, Njagi Marete, Nduma Nderi, Joseph Sergon, Dr. Nyaberi Justri, Professor Patrick Lumumba, and lawyer Alice Jepko Etiano. However, Judge Kadhurima withdrew his candidature, while Justice Koome also automatically became disqualified because she was nominated as the Chief Justice. Born in 1961, Justice Ouko has risen through the ranks in the judiciary, having started off as a district magistrate too in 1987. He became deputy registrar, senior deputy registrar and principal deputy registrar from 1990 to 1997 and later became chief court administrator in 1997. Justice Ouko served in the High Court from 2004 to 2012. During that time, he served in Malindi, Meru, and Nakuru. Before being appointed as High Court judge, he was registrar of the High Court between 2002 and 2004. Justice Ouko was appointed a Court of Appeal judge in 2012. He became the president of the Court of Appeal on 9 March 2018. Currently, other Supreme Court judges include Lady Justice Philomena Mbete Mwilu, the Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court, Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Justice Dr. Smoking Wanjala, Lady Justice Njoki Ndungu, and Justice Isaac Lenaola. Dolly Murigi for Hope TV News Watch.
The 2020 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education KCSE celebrations have continued across the country, with parents praising schools and candidates for exemplary performance despite the coronavirus pandemic disruptions. When students perform well, there's always a motivation behind the success or the unseen effort that students employ in their schedules to perform better. Our very own Dickens Levander met 2 2020 KCSE candidates, Jackson Mugo and Kip Koech. Kip Rotich was scored A constant and A minus respectively, and looks at their success journeys.
18-year-old Jackson Mugo Waithaka is among the over 700,000 candidates who sat for the 2020 KCSE exams and received the results on May 10th.
Kuna time inafika unaona uwezi, but you seek for the grace of God, mtafuta, and truly alinisaidia.
Jackson School at Maranda Boys, a popular secondary school in Siaya County, and his performance did not come as a surprise to his mother, who says the boy was performing well since his primary school days.
Safari ya masomo sisi sema imekuwa smooth sana, imekuwa na challenges zake, some rumbles, but through the grace of God nimeweza overcome and was able to get an A of 81 points.
Kwa masomo yake amekuwa bright boy na tulifurahia matokeo yake venye ilitokea, na tunashukuru Mungu kwa sababu amepitia mapito mangumu kwa hiyo 4 years. COVID-19 venye ilikuja alikuwa na hard time kwa sababu hatuna pesa ya kuingia kwa mtandao kwa masomo, lakini alikuwa anajifungia, anasoma, na create his own time.
But how was the school journey? What is behind his dream of becoming a pharmacist?
Jackson anataka kuwa pharmacy, na hiyo kulingana na mfuko yangu mimi siwezi kwa sahi. Na unaona ni bright boy, ameona hiyo kitu inamfuata. Alikuwa anataka medicine, akaniambia medicine mom itakuwa so expensive, acha nibadilishe niweke pharmacy. Kamwambia Mungu na yeye achangi watu wake, labda kutakuwa na mtu tu atasikia kilio chako akuje akusomeshe mahali unataka.
Jackson's father's death in 2018, when he was just in Form 2, really affected him, and this is the reason as to why he wants to pursue that road. His father died under mysterious circumstances after he had just returned from visiting him in school. There was no explanation of the cause of his father's death.
Ningependa kusomea medicine as a deal na branch ya pharmacy. The driving factor ilikuja nikiwa Form 2 ambapo dad alipass after visiting. Alikuja visiting, then mimi kurudi home na kuja naambiwa hayuko tena. So nikataka kujua sana nini ilimfanya. Ningetaka kujua hata saa hii bado what was the cause of his sudden death. So hapo ndo ningependa kuspecialize na nipende kusaidia wengine, maybe wengine wasisuffer from this. It was so traumatizing.
Na mtoto mwenye hakupata grade ya juu kama Jackson wangu asikufe moyo.
Joyce Wangui, Jackson's mother, says Jackson, who has 4 siblings, helps her to fend for the family by engaging in minor hustles, given that ever since the father passed on, life has been tough with the coronavirus pandemic worsening the situation.
Imekuwa hard time, imekuwa ngumu kwa sababu babake akienda aliniacha na mtoto wa miezi 2. So sikuweza kutoka nje kwenda kuhasu kwa sababu ni alikuwa breadwinner by then. Sasa kwa hiyo wakati imekuwa mimi kuhasu na those 5 kids, na imekuwa wakati mgumu, na yeye Jackson hakuni let down. Akiwa na free time ya shule unampata anajishughulisha na vibarua, anakuja ananiambia mom nimeearn this much, tutafanya nini nayo. Lakini kwa sahi sasa my last born amegrow. Sasa sahi najishughulisha, natoka nje naenda vibarua, narudi na waprovidea.
Jackson's experience in school is different from the experiences of Kipkoech Kiprotich, who schooled at the Strathmore High School in Nairobi County. Kiprotich, who recorded an A-, making his parents proud, hopes to venture into computer technology.
Ningependa kufanya mambo kuhusu tarakilishi na mambo ya hayo ndani, kwa sababu nahisi kwamba hapo ndipo mahali ambapo Mungu ameniwekea, na hapo ndipo nitakapoweza kufanya zaidi.
Even though he has the dreams of becoming a guru in technology, his father, Kisinja Kiprotich, says he is of the view that his son studies medicine, but he respects his son's dream and will not want to shatter what his son thinks is best for himself.
And the beauty about being with Elisha is he has allowed us, it's our firstborn. So we're also learning as parents to grow in those seasons. So instead of moving into a new season, we're also moving as parents. So I'd love to be part of his season But if the opportunity comes up, yes, I'm sure he can do a good job. I'm sure he's now well grown up, he's really developed well, and he'll be fine wherever he goes.
Dickens Vanda, Hope TV News.
Switch gears. A family in the sprawling Kibra slum is now appealing for assistance to help their daughter undergo a kidney transplant. 30-year-old Jeffrey Katanje, whose kidneys failed after giving birth in 2019, says she needs 900,000 shillings for the transplant. The family has appealed for assistance even as it decries the high cost of dialysis. Jeffrey, who's devastated by her condition, is worried that if nothing is done, the worst will happen. Our reporter Mark Kimondo brings us this story.
Fanywa dialysis, hati inaendelea kuwa weak na other organs pia zinaanza kufail due to nini, hiyo damu kutolewa inapitishwa kwa machine, infection, vitu kama.
Jeffrey Katenge has been undergoing maintenance dialysis since her kidney failed while she was giving birth 2 years ago. She is now afraid that she might lose her life if nothing is done. While 8 months pregnant, she had complications that resulted to preeclampsia, which is a pregnancy complication characterized by high blood pressure and signs of damage to another organ system, most often the liver and kidneys.
Kidneys failed, so kutoka 2019 nikaanza dialysis till now.
Jeffrey's condition is currently in its advanced stage, and things might run sour as people with advanced kidney disease and undergo maintenance dialysis have limited life expectancy. Her 2 kidneys have malfunctioned. Her brother has pledged one of his kidneys to her distressed sister.
So my doctors wameadvise naweza fanywa dialysis transplant, na nimepata donor, that is my brother, nakubali kumpea figo moja.
But even with these, the family needs approximately 900,000 Kenyan shillings for Jeffrey's kidney transplant, but they have only managed to get 25,000 Kenyan shillings.
So the approximate amount yenye tunataka ni around 900,000, but tumeshindwa ku raise, so nilikuwa naomba well wishers kama wanaweza saidia, anisaidie ku raise that amount, so naweza fanya transplant at Kenyatta National Hospital.
Sasa hata ukienda kwa watu, mtu anakuambia tu sina. Sijui tuko na 25,000 ndio watu wamekuresia tu kwa baby. 25,000 peke yake ndio tumepata. Sasa pay bill vile tulipata, sasa mtu anapata 500 anatuma, 200 anatuma, 100 anatuma. Kwa sababu ukiuliza mtu anakuambia corona imemaliza tunakubali kweli, inji imekaa mbaya.
2 days a week, Jeffrey goes for dialysis at the Kenyatta National Hospital, where she receives specialized treatment.
NHIF ina stand for dialysis twice a week. Inalipa 9,500 per session. Sasa lakini vitu zingine kama madawa za pressure, vipimo, hizo unajisimamia. Kulipa NHIF unajisimamia. Na tena umejua NHIF inasema ulipe 1 year. After, yani upitishe 1 year ndio wanakupatia nini ya NHIF, usipopitisha wakupati.
Dialysis is performed by experts when kidneys fail to perform their primary roles of cleaning the blood. In other ways, dialysis ensures the body is not intoxicated when kidneys malfunction. Due to extreme use of money in hospital expenses, the family is now grappling with poverty, shifting from one rental house to another as landlords become unbearing.
Hata pesa ni ngumu. Baba yake ni mtu wa jua kali. Saa nyingine hata kupata rendi tunakuwa na shida. Tulikuwa mahali pengine juzi, mahali tulikuwa hapa rendi ikashinda, tukashindwa kulipa. Ilibidi tutoke huko. Ndio tumekuja hapa, tumemaliza hapa tumemaliza, sasa tunaelekea mwezi. Kwa sababu ya kupata pesa ya kulipa. Kukula ni shida. Kupata pesa tena hata transport ya kwenda Kenyatta asubuhi saa nyingine inakuanga shida. Saa nyingine hata tunaendanga na yeye polepole tuende tuchukue vitu zake. Unajua Kenyatta lazima uende ubuku ndio kesho muende. Naweza kosa fare kwenda Kenyatta. Sasa maisha imenibadilikia tu, hata kupata pesa ni ngumu.
But even with all this, Jeffrey blames Makindo Hospital.
Ilikuwa niliwapatia, walikuwa confused cause nilikuwa na nosebleed, damu ilikuwa inatoka kwa mapua, wakifunga mapua inatoka na kwa mdomo, ilikuwa inatoka mingi. So kila mtu alikuwa anakuja na idea yake. Yeye anakuja anasema tumdunge hii, waone kama hiyo damu itastop. Wananidunga, haija stop. Mwingine anasema leteni dawa fulani, ilikuwa hivyo. So ili take time from around 4 to around saa 1 ndio damu ilikuja kustop. So walikuwa wamesha nidunga madawa nyingi. So kupelekwa theater, daktari wa theater akasema wangenileta before wajaribu kumanage kustop hiyo damu cause tayari washatampa na kidney. So nitani dialysis na Makindu hakuna dialysis. So that's why ilibidi nikuwe transferred, kuwa referred to Kenyatta.
They allegedly worsened her condition while trying to handle preeclampsia.
Mimi wale ambao nililaumu ni mahali alikuwa. Kwa sababu hata huyu msana wangu wakati alikuanga huko nilikuwa nimetumana akuja na Kenyatta tuangalie hali yake kwa sababu tangu apate huyu mtoto hakukuanga vizuri. Sasa wale nalaumu ni Mama Kindu kwa sababu wangechukua vile inastahili hiyo sindano walimdunga ndio ilienda kufanya nini? Kudamu kidney.
Jeffries is now in her 30s with a lot of emotions and explains how worried she is now that her future is dimmed.
Mimi nimesoma, nimefika college, nimesomea hospitality management, diploma in hospitality management. Na nilikuwa nataka niandikwe hata kwa hoteli hizi kubwa kwa manager. Lakini sasa hii mambo ya dialysis nimefanya ni kama ndoto zangu naona zikididimia. Lakini mkiingilia kati kama well wishers, ndashukuru kwa sababu nikipata kidney nyingine maisha yangu itarudi normal na naweza achieve dream yangu yenye nilikuwa nataka kuwa.
Since she was a young girl, Jeffries was the source of hope to her mother, who is now 57-year-old. But life is very unpredictable. Things have overturned and now her mother is the source of hope to her.
Kwa watoto wangu, huyu mtoto wangu ndiye alikuwa mtoto hard working. Na alikuwa na mtoto uda anajua kufanya kazi. Sasa hata ndio nilikuwa nasema mtoto wangu huyu akipata kazi, najua maisha ile nimepitia nao, nikitafuta vibarua nikiwasomesha, najua maisha yangu itabadilika. Na nikamwambia mtoto wangu ukimaliza kusoma, hata nikikaa nyumbani ukitafuta kibarua mnanitumia nyumbani nikisurvive. Sasa maisha yenyewe imekuja ikabadilika. Ile niliitwa mtoto ni mgonjwa. Nikarudi hapa Nairobi, maisha sasa ikarudi nyuma.
They are now sailing on the sea of challenges as a family, united by the thickness of blood. But there is still a beam of hope amid the dark season they are going through. The family is desperately appealing for help to get 900,000 shillings for Jeffrey's kidney transplant, and if nothing is done, the worst might just happen.
After the third year, hakuna haja ya transplant because hizo organs zingine zitakuwa zimekuwa weak, so hata ukifanywa transplant hauwezi survive for so long.
Nikipata tu usaidizi, mtoto wangu apate namna vile anaweza pata hiyo figo, arudi kwa normal states zake. Kwa sababu mimi sina uwezo, sina kazi, na huyu mtoto wake atalewa aje. Sasa naomba tu usaidizi. Mahali hata itatokea yote, nimekubali kwa sababu ile mateso nimeteseka na mtoto. Najua mama ndio anajuanga.
Even as the family continues to mobilize funds for Jeffrey's kidney transplant, they believe that they will overcome the mountain despite how big it sounds to them. However, currently they are needed 900,000 Kenyan shillings, but they've only managed to get 25,000 Kenyan shillings by now, a situation that has left them between a rock and a hard place. Mark Kimondo for Newswatch, Kibra Slam, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mark Kimondo, for that story there. We do hope that Jeffries Katenje will get the immediate help she needs to raise the 900,000 shillings. We do wish her all the best. Now, let's continue with our broadcast. As heavy rains continue to pound most parts of the country, more than 50 families in Sibembe, Bukayo, Nambale sub-county in Busia continue to count losses after their homes were destroyed by flash floods. One of the affected residents, locally known as Maria, says she was forced to close down her business after the premise was destroyed by water. The local residents also said they're in danger of contracting waterborne diseases such as cholera after pit latrines were covered with rainwater.
Ninawashukuru wote, hata wale wenye walisimama nami wakinisaidia hata kujenga. Ninawashukuru kabisa, natoa shukrani kubwa.
Ningependa kutoa shukrani kwa wale wote waliosimama nasi kwa kutujengea nyumba na tukapata mahali pema pa kuishi. Ningependa kushukuru wanahabari wote waliofika mahali hapa kwa sababu ya kupeleka ujumbe kwa media. Nashukuru mwanahabari wetu kaka Juma kwa kutuletea wanahabari wenzake, wakafanya mama wetu na wakubwa wa kaunti yetu wakajua tuna shida.
Sisi tunalia tu serikali tusaidie, kwa sababu tunaangukiwa na nyumba. Ukiingia ndani ya nyumba inazama tu ndani.
Nyumba yangu ilipasuka ndani kwa sikoro, nimehama huko, sasa niko kwa Mubweru huko. Tena kwa Mubweru upande mmoja imebwasuka tena. Sasa hata sijui nitahamia wapi. Nimepaki Mubweru kidogo. Pale ya kupikia hakuna. Pale ya wageni waingie wakae hakuna. Sasa niko tu hivyo. Sasa nitakuaje? Mambo imenishinda. Sasa mimi miaka ni mkofu, nitaenda wapi?
Tuliamka asubuhi maji imejaa kwa nyumba. Sasa tukashinda tutafanya aje. Baadaye jikoni kaanguka.
Tuliamka asubuhi tukakuta maji imeingia kwa nyumba kubwa. Room zote ni maji. Jikoni pia ikaanguka. Sasa niko na shida pa kupikia, watoto wanakaa njaa.
Zaidi ya maboma 100 ambayo imevamiwa, nyumba zimeinama na hata zingine wamehama, wanalala mahali pengine.
Hata choo karibu zote kwa area zimeanguka. Kwa sababu vile mimi naonelea hiyo nikana hofu ya kupata na ugonjwa wa cholera.
Right, with that news, Watch Now takes a short break. We'll be back with more stories making headlines in the country. Just stay with us.
On the next episode of Health Check. Dysphagia is the medical term for swallowing difficulties. Studies show that the average person swallows more than 900 times every day. But people with dysphagia have problems swallowing certain fluids or liquids, and others can't swallow at all. Like breathing, swallowing is essential for everyday life, but for people with dysphagia, it can cause significant problems and really affect their quality of life. Join me, Kerika Giri, as I engage our guest specialists live in studio to answer your questions on swallowing difficulties. You can start sending in your questions to 22232. That's on Health Check, live this Tuesday at 7 p.m. exclusively on Hope TV.
Join John Cousin every weekday as he takes us on a journey through the Bible.
Whoever shall seek to save his life, if you go back to living for yourself, you're going to lose it. But whoever shall lose his life, give up his life for my sake, he shall preserve it.
Enjoy interesting, knowledge-packed, yet simple teachings through his humor and in-depth understanding of God's Word.
The last people that tried to put God in a box, literally, he rose again. He wouldn't stay in their compartment. If God was small enough for me to figure out, he wouldn't be big enough for me to worship.
Tune in to Hope TV for John Cousin every 10 p.m., 4 a.m., and 10 a.m. weekdays on Hope TV, where you look and live.
back to our second segment of News Watch. Let's now look at the COVID-19 statistics. The country has recorded 392 new COVID-19 cases from a sample size of 3,668 tested in the last 24 hours, marking a positivity rate of 10.7%. This pushes the country's cumulative cases to 165,112. In a statement issued by the Ministry of Health, from the new cases, 383 are Kenyans, while 9 are foreigners. In today's statistics, 8 deaths have been reported in the last 24 hours, with 1 occurring within the last 1 month, while 7 are late death reports from facility record audits. The cumulative fatalities is now at 2,976. 184 patients have recovered from the disease, with 152 coming from the home-based care, while 32 are from various health facilities countrywide. Total recoveries stand at 113,432. Now, in terms of admissions, a total of 1,040 patients are currently admitted in various health facilities countrywide, while 4,813 patients are on home-based isolation and care program. 118 patients are reported to be in the intensive care unit ICU, 23 of whom are on ventilatory support and 74 on supplemental oxygen. Moving on, Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya has cautioned Kakamega County government enforcement officers drawn mainly from the revenue collection and the traffic units against brutality and extorting money from residents when enforcing laws in the county. The governor said the units need to be trained on the best practices to guide them in their normal day-to-day operations as they discharge their duties to the county.
I know there are other hope enforcement officers. Wrong in the sense that some have engaged themselves in activities such as demanding bribes, using excessive force while handling lawbreakers, and by doing so, tarnishing the good name of the county government. Your work is called inform the charge. And you have been charged in every ward. We have been charged at the sub-county level. If you go out there and do something, watasema governor ametuma watu wake. Hata kama sijui, make sure that you have as high discipline as possible. So that risk of losing employment because of small things of bribe, 200 shillings here, 1,000 shillings here. I had always said that training is critical to every employee. It makes you know what environment you are in and what is expected of you. And there should be a training program across the county, all cadres of staff, including myself.
The journey to acquire title deeds for colonial village squatters in Nyandarua County has finally kicked off, with the government targeting 35 villages in the county. On Friday, 30 title deeds were issued to residents of Turkana village, while another 35 similar documents were issued to residents of Kosite village in Rure ward. Residents of Njabini and Donyo Jeru villages were issued with the documents during the first phase early last year. Speaking while overseeing the issuance of the land ownership documents in the Kosite village, Nyandarua Governor Francis Kimeme said both the national and county governments were fast-tracking the process of resolving the outstanding disputes in several villages in the county.
Tumeanza hii process tangu mwaka wa 2019. 2020 kuna shughuli ambayo tungekuja tufanye hapa, haikuweza kufanyika kwa sababu ya corona. Na hivyo basi hizi title zimeendelea kupewana katika zamu. Hii zamu ya leo ya kwanza tulipeana title 20 na ilikuwa ikabaki tupatiane zingine. Sasa hivi leo tuko na titles 35 ambazo zimekuwa tayari kutengenezwa.
Title deeds za Nyandarua County zile ambazo tumepeana tayari kule kwa jamii ya Bahati wa Turkana ni title deeds zaidi ya 33, na pia hapa tuko na title deed zaidi ya karibu 35, 36 ambazo tutapeana hapa. Kuna zile ambazo bado zitakuja tena either wiki ijayo ama ile wiki nyingine ambayo inafuata. Tutaharakisha hii mambo ya title deed ili kila mwananchi ambaye yako katika colonial villages zetu na zile sites zetu za vijiji wote waweze kupata title deeds zao ili waweze kuendelea mbele. Zile vijiji ambazo tuko nazo katika Nyandarua County ni zaidi ya 35 na title deed karibu zote ziko tayari. Ni chache ambazo bado hazijapeana. Kuna watu wengine ambao wamefariki, kuna zingine ambazo bado ziko na tofauti kidogo kati ya watu wawili, watu watatu, na hizo zote tunaendelea kurekebisha ili wananchi wote waweze kupata title deed. Baada ya hayo tunaingia katika hizo vijiji. Kuna mradi ya World Bank ambao tunasaidia watu wenyeji wa vijiji zetu waweze kuendesha biashara, tuweze kuinua hali yao, tuwekee maji, tuwekee stima, tuwekee barabara, tusaidie vijana wetu waweze kufanya biashara, wamama waweze kupata biashara, na pia wazee wetu waweze kupata biashara katika hizo sites zetu za vijiji ambazo ziko katika Nyandarua County zaidi ya 35.
Let's now look at some international news. In the ongoing Israel-Gaza violence, 2 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire in the West Bank, including one who the Israeli military says attempted to stab a soldier. More than 100 people have been injured during clashes in the occupied territory. The Israeli military said it neutralized a man who attempted to stab a soldier at a military post in Ofra. Mediation efforts are underway to bring an end to the fighting, but efforts and appeals from other countries have had no effect so far. A senior Israeli official said Hamas started the conflict and Israel had to make it pay a price. Meanwhile, Israel continued to bombard the Gaza Strip with air raids and artillery shells as it stepped up the deployment of troops and tanks near the besieged Palestinian enclave. At least 122 Palestinians, including 31 children, have been killed and more than 900 wounded since hostilities flared up on Monday. Hundreds of Palestinian families have taken shelter in the United Nations-run schools in northern Gaza to escape Israeli artillery fire, with residents reporting that the Strip had experienced its most violent night. Now, COP26 President Alok Sharma now says the world must act to slow global warming, warning of a catastrophe if nothing is done. In a major speech outside of Glasgow, where in 6 months' time COP26 will have wrapped up, Sharma will outline how the UK is striving to make sure these 2 weeks are the moment that every country and every part of society embraces the responsibility to protect our planet. He has been supported by government ministers who took part in climate-related visits throughout Friday to show how the UK is greening all parts of society, from hospitals and prisons to jobs and transport.
Human activity is damaging our Earth. It's imperiling this brilliant jewel. The greenhouse gases that we've been pumping into the atmosphere since the Industrial Revolution are altering nature's precious balance, disrupting the finely tuned and fantastically complex system that is the world's climate. And the effects are now closing in. Global temperatures are rising. Last year was the hottest on record. The last decade was the hottest ever recorded. And in the past 30 years, the world has lost up to half its coral reefs. Half. We've seen wildfires in the Pennines and floods in West Lothian, all as pollution chokes our children. And if we do not act now, the science tells us these effects will become more frequent and more brutal. That we will witness a scale of global catastrophe, the likes of which the world has not seen. And quite rightly, future generations will hold us responsible.
Right, let's take another short break on news. Watch to be back with business and sports news.
Join
Join us every Sunday for unlimited, uplifting, powerful worship. Only on Extended Worship.
Dunia ni mali ya Bwana na vyote vijazavyo.
Nguruwe ni mali ya Bwana?
Ni mali ya Bwana.
Bata ni mali ya Bwana?
Ni mali.
Wewe kula basi. Acha mambo mengi.
Yesu ndiye njia.
Muislamu yoyote ambaye anamkataa Yesu, kwanza sisi tunamjua ni kafiri.
Bila huyu Yesu, mtu aendi kwa Baba.
Ungana na walimu wa neno wanapochambua masuala tata katika Biblia, wakiyalinganisha na vitabu vingine vya kidini.
Je, kuna ushahidi wowote Muhammad aliwahi na Qur'ani? Na hii Qur'ani muliitoa wapi? Halo?
Piga simu moja kwa moja na pia uchangie kupitia SMS na Facebook.
Itawezekana kitabu cha Biblia ambaye mnakiamini kuwa ni kitabu cha Mwenyezi Mungu ishindwe kumtabiri mtu ambaye ana wafuasi zaidi ya bilioni 100 duniani?
Je, Muhammad amekufa ama yuko hai?
Ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 2 hadi saa 4 ya usiku kwenye runinga uipendayo ya Hope TV.
Let's continue with business. Now, petrol users in the country will have to cough more after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, increased the cost of petrol fuel by 3.56 shillings. The Energy Regulatory Body has, however, retained the prices for diesel and kerosene, which have not changed since April. Here in Nairobi, petrol will now be retailing at 126.37 shillings, diesel at 107.66 and kerosene at 97.85 shillings. Prior to the changes, the fuel prices had remained unchanged from April 14th to May 14th, where petrol retailed at 122.81 shillings, diesel at 107.66 and kerosene at 97.85 shillings in Nairobi. Last month, a last-minute intervention by the National Treasury after public uproar on expected fuel prices increase forced the Energy Agency to retain pump prices. In Mombasa, petrol will now cost 123.95 shillings, diesel will sell at 105.27 shillings and kerosene will cost the consumer 95.46 for a litre of the commodity. In Kisumu, 1 litre of petrol will cost a user 126.90 shillings, diesel will sell at 108 and kerosene will go for 98.68 shillings. The government has committed to work with the newly elected Kenya Tea Development Agency KTDA directors in a bid to reform the troubled sector. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i said the focus will be to implement President Uhuru Kenyatta's tea reforms in the sector. On his part, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya said the government is ready to work with the new KTDA directors in ensuring everything is in order. This comes a few months after the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya warned that the government will not allow cartels and unscrupulous players in the tea sector to derail implementation of the new regulations.
Ni kuhakikishia ya kwamba serikali itafanya kazi pamoja nanyi kuhakikisha hii mabadiliko yote imefanyika. Kwa hivyo la muhimu sasa, chairman, ni kuhakikisha hawa mandirector wamechukua usukani kule nyumbani kwa factory zao. na wale wanafanya kazi kwa hizo factory ni waajiri wenu, your employees. So you cannot continue allowing them to behave the way they want. You go and take over.
The government is very serious about this business. I said when we were in a public meeting another day in Nyamira with my colleague, I sometimes people doubt the resolve of government. And if there is anyone who doubts that, listen to me very carefully. These reforms will happen, and we are going to stay on this course until this sector is reformed. No amount of anything is going to get us out of this way.
Farmers in Nyandarua County have benefited from a 74 million shilling climate smart grant from the World Bank. This as the county government banks on the grant to increase agricultural productivity, boost resilience to climate change risks and reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. According to Governor Francis Kimemia, the grant under the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Project, which benefited farmer groups from Kirita and Leshao, Pondo, Indaragwa, Kipipiri and Githabai, will focus on Irish potatoes, dairy, garden peas and indigenous chicken value chains.
Wakati uliopita ametupatia mahindi ya kupanda. Sasa kwa wakati huu tena ametukumbuka na viazi. Kwa muda huu nimekuja kuchukua cheki ya shilingi 750 na hizo pesa tutanunua viazi nazo na tupande kwa mashamba yetu. Tunashukurani sana kwa gavana wetu Kimemia kwa vile ametukumbuka kwa hiyo kijiji.
Tumefurahi kupewa hiyo pesa, tunalisha kuku. Na hiyo mradi tunataka iendelee, itusaidie. Juu watu wa HIV ni watu wa kukula vitu mzuri, nutrition, na tutafaidika na hiyo pesa. Juu gavana wetu alitupatia na kuku tutaletewa. Kwa hivyo tunafurahi sana.
Tumekuja hapa Mutanga kupeana check ya milioni 74 ambazo tumepeana siku ya leo, na tumepatia groups za wakulima wetu. Wakulima wetu tumempatia hizo pesa siku ya leo, na wote watapata ni groups 150, na pesa yote ambayo tutapeana mwisho ile tumepeana leo ni 70%, 74 million shillings ama milioni 74, yote itakuwa ni milioni 105. Hiyo ingine 30% baadaye tutapeana baadaye. Kwa hivyo hivi leo tumepatia groups 150 ambao wataenda kufanya kazi yao kule mashinani, wafanya kazi ya kukuza kuku, ya kupanda viazi, ya kupanda zile njugu, ya kuweka ng'ombe za kisasa ambao zinatoa lita zaidi ya 30-40 pa ng'ombe moja, na pia mambo mengine mengi ya kilimo ambayo inashikana na ukulima.
Some sports news now. Jadon Sancho and Erling Braut Haaland each scored twice as Borussia Dortmund thrashed RB Leipzig in the German Cup final. Elsewhere, Jurgen Klopp celebrated his first win at Old Trafford as Liverpool came from behind to beat Manchester United 4-2 and boost their chances of a Champions League place. Meanwhile, West Ham forward Jesse Lingard has been named Premier League Player of the month of April, with Newcastle boss Steve Bruce winning the Manager's Award. This and more in our sports roundup with Joseph Maingi.
Borussia Dortmund's Jadon Sancho and Erling Braut Haaland both scored twice to crush Red Bull Leipzig 4-1 and lift the Germans Cup last night. This was Dortmund's 5th German Cup triumph and their first since 2017, while Leipzig missed out on winning their first silverware after losing their second cup final in the last 3 years. Elsewhere, in the Spanish La Liga, Real Madrid squatted aside Granada 4-1 to ensure that the La Liga title will go down to the wire. Real Madrid moved into the second place on 78 points, 2 behind leaders Atletico Madrid, with 2 games left to play. In the English Premier League, Roberto Firmino scored twice as Liverpool boosted their hopes of a late push in the top 4 in the Champions League football next season with a 4-2 Premier League win at Manchester United last night to move above West Ham United into the 5th place on 60 points. And West Ham forward Jesse Lingard, who is on loan from Manchester United, has been named April's Premier League Player of the Month. The 28-year-old scored 4 goals in 4 league games last month, taking his total tally to 9 for the season since joining West Ham on loan at the start of February. Lingard had not played a minute of Premier League football this season prior to his Manchester United exit, but has been directly involved in 12 goals since his arrival at West Ham. Meanwhile, Newcastle boss Steve Bruce has been named the manager of the month of April. Bruce oversaw 2 wins and 2 draws for Newcastle's 4 matches to ease a fear of relegation and fight back from losing position in the 3 of those fixtures. And we take a look at this weekend's fixtures, and Manchester City travel to Newcastle United tonight in the first match since being officially crowned the Premier League champions. Tomorrow, Thomas Tuchel plans to ruin Leicester's bid and make history as Chelsea's manager, eyeing his first trophy of his reign in Saturday's FA Cup final at Wembley. The German has led Chelsea to the FA final and the Champions League, while taking them back into the Premier League's top 4. Elsewhere, newly crowned champions in the Italian Serie A, Inter Milan, meet last season's winners Juventus tomorrow evening in the Derby d'Italia. In the French Ligue 1, with only 4 points needed from the final 2 games to clinch the title, Lille welcomes Saint-Etienne to the Stade Pierre-Mauroy on Sunday night. Well, that's your sports. I'm Joseph Maingi.
And that report from Joseph Maingi wraps up our bulletin tonight on Newswatch. Thank you for always keeping us company. Antonio Mondi and our sign language interpreter has been Boniface Murithi. Have a blessed weekend ahead. Good night.